Hello everyone, welcome back to another Halo modding tutorial video. This is actually a continuation of my previous tutorial on importing Halo 2, 3, and ODST maps into Blender. And I called that a complete guide, but I actually forgot one thing, and in this video I'm going to show you that thing and actually make this a complete guide, and that is importing objects and positioning them and rotating them to be correct, just as they are in the game, but in Blender. And so I have Halo 2 Relic imported here, the BSP. I have it under a BSP collection here. And you'll notice, though, if you're familiar with this map, that there's two major things that are missing. One of them is the ramps on both sides of the structure here. There are ramps that go from the ground and they lead up to the structure about here. Again, on both sides. And then we're also missing a Covenant watchtower about right here. And you may want these objects in. Definitely these ramps. I don't know why they're not a part of the BSP, but they're scenery tags. I have no idea why. So I think just importing those is you should do that by default. But maybe you want some of the objects in, like crates, or the weapons, the weapon locations, or the vehicle locations. Maybe you want that stuff too. Maybe instead of doing Halo modding, you're making animations and you want the maps to look exactly how they look like in game, but in Blender. But they're also just good reference to have when you're kind of studying the maps and seeing how they're structured as well. So let's get into it. I actually have Halo 2 Sapien opened up with Relic, and you can see we have the ramps on both sides, and there's the Covenant watchtower. Now let me just back up here. These ramps, like I said earlier, are treated as scenery objects, and I think this Covenant watchtower is as well. So what we'll do is under the hierarchy view window here, we'll expand mission and expand objects, and we'll click here on scenery. And if we scroll down here, I think this Covenant, nope, that's this recharge station over here. Here's Dune Ramps. So we have Dune Ramps Planet, which is going to be the ramps on the side of where this planet is in the skybox. We also have Dune Ramps Island here, which is going to be on the side with the islands in the distance. And the watchtower might actually be under crates. Let me try to find that. If you're wanting to look to see where an object is, you can just double click it here in the window, which is what I'm doing. Let me look at scenery again. Oh, you know what? This isn't a scenery object, it's a device. I forgot about that, and I think it's going to be, yep. Well, the base is not a device, but the top is. So, oh wait, yeah, it is. So here we have the Covenant watchtower base, and we have the Covenant watchtower pod. So we'll import these objects here. So since these are tags, scenery object tags, we actually need to extract them, and they will be JMS files and not ASS files. So let's open up Tool. We'll go to Halo 2 Editing Kit, or whatever editing kit you're using. This is going to be the same process, but the tool commands are going to be different. I'm going to do Halo 2, so up here in the address bar, type CMD. That'll open up the command prompt. Now for Halo 3 and ODST, you'll want to use tool extract import info for every tag, but for Halo 2 it's going to be different. And actually, let me let me do something here. Let me see. I think it's going to be, yeah, extract collision data and extract render data is what we're going to do. So let's do tool, extract. Is that, let me make sure they're hyphens. Yep, extract hyphen render data. Render hyphen data. And let's go to tags. Now the ramps and the, I'm not sure about the watchtower, but for the ramps, they are going to be under objects. I think multi. No, they're not. I think they're going to be under. Okay, I remember where they are. They're under scenarios, objects, multi, dune, and then here we have dune ramps. So we'll open this up, and let's do island first. We'll just, since we already have extract render data typed out, all we need to do is just drag that in. And we do want to delete the render model postfix here. And in fact, let's see if that works. Okay, yeah, that's because we need to actually delete, we only want it to be, go back to the scenarios folder, because it says here that, can't find tag / D, my, hard drive here, so it's already looking under the tags folder, so, yeah, this should work now. And you can see it works, so I'll hit up, the up arrow on my keyboard, and I'll, change render to collision, hit enter again. Now we'll do the same thing with the planets, the dune ramp planet. So tool extract render data. We'll drag in the render model and go back here, delete .render model, and then delete everything before scenarios. Hit enter, and then we'll do the same thing with collision. So we'll just change render to collision. Hit enter. Now let's find, let me find the Covenant Watchtower really quick, and when I find it, I'll show you where it is. So I'm back. I actually forgot that the Covenant Watchtower base here is actually called Covenant Watchtower Dune. So what I did is that I just searched it here in the search bar, and what we can do is we can just right click and go to oh, that's weird. Oh, that's because I already, when you search something, let me go back here. When you search something, you can just, and you got the result, you can just right click here and go to open file location. Now this has the render model, the physics model, and the collision model for the Covenant Watchtower base. So what we'll do is, for the sake of completeness, we'll just get the render physics and collision model as well. So I'll type tool, extract hyphen render hyphen data, and just drag that in. Delete the .render model end there, and then delete everything before scenarios. Hit enter, and we'll do the same thing for the collision and physics model. So it'll be, for collision, it'll be extract collision data, and for physics, it'll be extract physics data. Hit enter. Now let's find the pod. So if we just go back a folder, there's the Covenant Watchtower pod. Click on that, and we'll do the same thing here. Okay, so I have the Covenant Watchtower completely extracted. Let's do one more example here. Let's do one of these crates, and these crates are going to be under the crates tag tag folder here. And let's do this third. No, let's see. Let's do this one. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth one down. This is going to be crate space. So let's get let's go back to our Windows Explorer here, and let's just go back to the tags folder. And let's search for crate space, hit enter. And it's giving us a lot. I think crate space dot crate here is going to be what we're looking for. So let's just open file location. And I think it is definitely the one we want because it's under Covenant military crate space. And you see here we have the physics render and collision model as well. So let's extract those as well. For these, instead of scenarios, it's going to be objects. That's going to be the first folder. Basically, you want to delete, like I said, everything before tags and including the tags folder there. Hit enter. Do the same thing for collision. And it's inserting. Not what I wanted. There we go. If that happens to you, you just need to press the insert key on your keyboard, and it'll change from overwrite to insert. Okay, so we have extracted everything. Everything we want to get is going to be in the data slash reversed exclamation mark extracted. Well, not reverse, but you know what I mean. So we can close out of this now, the command line. And let's go back to Halo 2 editing kit, and we want to go to data, extracted, and here everything is just nicely placed here in this data folder. I have Dune here on my desktop, and that includes the ASS file. What I'm going to do is for each separate object, I am going to create a folder. So for example, I will create a new folder called Cov Watch Tower Base. And keep doing that for all of the objects we have here. Now, you may be wondering why I created these instead of copying them over. Well, it's because these folders have these subfolders, each for the different type of tag. And having to go into all of these, and that's just going to be a lot of folders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this in, copy it over, and since it's collision, I'm just going to rename this to base underscore collision, and do that with physics as well. call this underscore physics. Did I spell that right? No, I didn't. And get the render model as well. And I won't change that to render. Well, yeah, I will for the sake of clarity. And basically, I'll just do that for all of the objects here. Alright, so I have everything copied over. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this extracted folder just to clean it up. We don't need it anymore. I'll close out of that, and we can start importing our objects. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the ramps. Now, back in Blender, I would highly recommend you create a new collection here by right-clicking on Scene Collection, click New Collection, and call this Objects. Now, I'm only going to import the render models. You can import all the ones you want to. I would also, if you're going to import the collision and physics models, I would recommend you also create a new collection for each individual object and have the render, physics, and collision model under those, under that collection. But I'm only going to be importing the render models. So I'll select objects here. I'll click File, Import, and Halo Jointed Model Skeleton. Before I do that though, I'm going to go to Scene Properties, and I actually forgot to set my global settings to Halo 2. Should be fine, but just make sure you've set these global settings to the right game. And I'm just going to set a JMS here to Halo 2 as well. Again, I don't think, like I said in my previous video, I think these are only export settings, but just in case, I'm going to set JMS scene properties here to Halo 2. And now we can actually import. So I'll go to File, Import JMS here, Halo Jointed Model Skeleton. I will go to the Dune folder on our desktop or wherever you want it. I'm going to set version to Halo 2. And since I have problems with this option here, I'm going to unselect reuse armature. This option is not really important if you're just importing maps. So let's do Dune Ramps Island here to start us off, and I will just import the render model. Import JMS, and it's all the way over here. So we need to move it to the location, to the correct location. And let's actually rename this armature to what the tag is called. So Dune Ramps Island. And you may want to call it render if you're importing the collision and physics model as well, but I'm not going to worry about that. Just be aware that if you do call it render, it's going to do this. It's going to add 001 at the end. Just be aware that that doesn't really mess anything up. It's just because there's already a Blender object called Dune Ramps Island Render. So I'm just going to call it Dune Ramps Island. And yeah, let's actually place it in the right spot. So we'll want to have the armature selected here because we don't want to move the mesh, we want to move the armature. So let's go here to Object Properties, and here's the location. So what we'll do is we'll go back to Sapien, and we will get the Dune Ramps Island here. And under Properties palette here, we'll scroll down, and here's the position. 61 XYZ. So let's just copy these numbers over to the XYZ coordinates in Blender. So I'll just kind of make Blender smaller here. So let's copy that X value 61.3924, then negative 167.857, and negative 0.7065. And you'll see that it didn't look like it moved at all. Well, it did actually move, but you have to remember that Halo maps, Halo models are gigantic. So what we actually need to do is we need to modify these numbers a little bit. And what we need to do is we just need to move the decimal place over by two places here. So I'll delete the decimal place there and put it behind the 9 and hit enter. You can see it moved a lot more. We'll do the same thing here. You can see it looks like it's about where it's supposed to be. And we'll do the same thing for the z-axis. And it still doesn't look quite right. Well, why is that? Well, that's because it is rotated 180 degrees on one of the axes. Now, it looks, but what do Y, P, and R mean? Why is it not X, Y, Z? Let's just try rotating this on the X by 180. Hit enter, and now you can see the ramp is in the correct spot. And I'll explain why P and R when we get to another object, but for now, let's just import the other ramp here. So we'll select this ramp, the ramp's planet, and with the objects collection selected, let's, I'm going to resize this again, and let's go to File, Import, JMS, should keep the options the same. Let's import Dune Ramps Planet, import the render model, and I'll rename the armature to Dune Ramps Planet. And with that selected in the Object Properties tab, let's look over here and let's copy these numbers, but again, we want to put the decimal point 2 places over, 2 places to the right, so that's going to be on the X, it's going to be 2006 or 739.24, negative 16874.3, and negative 070.65. And let's rotate this on the x-axis 180. So now we have the ramps like they're supposed to be. So let's import that Covenant Watchtower about right here where it goes. And again, that's going to be under Objects, Devices, Machines. And here's the Covenant Watchtower Dune. That's going to be Covenant Watchtower Base. So let's import that as well. I'll just do the render model. And I'll rename this to Cov Watchtower Base. And let's see where it's located. This isn't rotated, so we can just keep this zeroed out. but let's set its location again. So that'll be 87, 87.5, negative 15050, and we still want it to be 2 decimal places over, so we do need to add that extra 0. And then negative 122.946. And that's going to put it on the ground where it's supposed to be. Now let's get the pod right here. And that's going to have pretty much the same coordinates, but it's going to be up a little bit on the z-axis. So let's import that JMS. And rename it. And get it in the right location. And there it is. Looking good. Alright, so now let's import just one of these crates here, and we'll import that 6th crate that we got. So it's going to be this one. And you can see this one is rotated quite a bit here. So let's properly go over what this rotation means. So you might be a little confused why it's not X, Y, and Z when Blender is also X, Y, and Z. Well, that's because this rotation is actually yaw, pitch, and roll. And I'm not 100% sure about the mathematics of how these different rotation modes work in Blender, but for this object, let's go ahead and let's just import it before we go any farther. And that will be under crate space. We'll import the render model, and let's name this to crate space. And let's put it in the correct location. And there it is. It has a bunch of markers on it, though. Here, I think this is just where, like, AI are scripted to, like, jump on top of the box or hide behind it, so I'm just going to hide all of these. You can probably delete them if you want to. Wow, there's a lot of them. Wow, there's a lot of them. Okay, we got the render model. But it is not rotated the way it's supposed to. It should look like that from above, and right now it's just straight on. So let's rotate it. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure about the mathematics here, but we want to change mode from XYZ Euler to ZYX Euler here. And now what we will do is that we will copy these numbers from the bottom up. So Y will be Z, P will be Y, and R will be X. So let's do, we don't want to move the decimal places though. These rotations are in degrees, so they should be right. So let's do 127.616 for Z. For Y, it'll be negative 0.00166405. And for X, it'll be negative 0.025854. And really, these XY numbers are so close to 0. The reason why they probably are is because this was probably dropped in with gravity and it just, the physics aren't like 100% accurate, but as you can see there, the object is rotated correctly. So that's how you position the scenery objects and you rotate them. And so that will actually do it for this video. So now you should be able to, you should understand how to import scenery objects into your Blender map file if you so choose to. Again, some parts of the what should be, I think, should be part of the BSP are not part of the BSP, like these ramps here. Don't know why they aren't, but that's how you get those objects in that are missing. That's how you can correctly position these objects around. So that will do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.